Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate, Uncut and Aftershow. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to join the community debate, then go to nathanoakley.com and check out the Flat Earth Debate forum, which you should definitely all join. If you'd like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are premiering. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Now, we're currently in the interim stages between two live debates, so I'm going to pass over to the Discord and Google Plus Hangouts on Air panel so you can enjoy the dulcet tones of whoever is in there while I set up for the next live show.
Oh my god, how many live shows do you do?
You guys are some rude panel members, I tell you. If you're pleasant, Nathan will be pleasant. Just gets tired of being interrupted all the time.
He has a propensity to talk all the fucking time. You know, that's all I have a problem
It's
with.
his show. He can talk the whole show if he wants.
Sure,
I'm
I
just
guess
kinda
so.
curious.
I didn't even know I got invited. Look, I got invited to this live stream. I didn't know.
Oh, it's great.
So I got
Good to
invited
have
to
you,
it.
but just wait for your turn to talk and just let's just all try to be pleasant here. Right? There's no reason to.
Are you letting this
You don't
fucking
like
asshole talk for you? Nathan, are you letting
Wait.
this fucking cunt talk for you?
Guys,
Come on,
If
man.
you don't like
I have
it,
something to-
if you don't like it,
I want to address
just
all the
leave.
ballers typically, okay, for a moment. So, look, there's this issue constantly of everybody talking over him, and they do it with everybody. It would be best for you guys to basically regard Nathan, and now listen carefully, as a teacher you disagree with. Because if you're in school or in university and you disagree with the teacher during his classes, you're not going to constantly interrupt them, because then he's going to kick you out of class and you're going to fail. So if you just regard him like that annoying teacher you totally disagree with, but you still want to follow the class, then we can actually move on beyond this stupid bickering over social behavior.
I think there's some truth to that. Like the teachers that I disagreed with, I walked out of the classes. I didn't participate.
Bye.
You can do that, or at least stop interrupting, and then we would get somewhere at least.
Nah, I agree with John. Bye.
Or at least have the respect to not interject in the middle of the guy's show to tell him that he's talking too much.
I didn't even know, Nathan. I'm sorry, Nathan. I didn't know that it was a show going on at the time. I just joined
Everyone's
into
Nathan.
You know it was live?
I was sent a link. and I was like, "What is this link?" And I joined where everyone was talking, so I didn't know a show was actually going on. I'm
Hey,
sorry.
Harwin, go ahead and
for
talk.
the-
He'll call you Nathan.
Well,
Chocolate,
So
say-
this is your
chocolate.
first time
Like,
on the show
fucking-
today.
There's a bunch of people that are talking that are coming through Nathan Oakley's fucking voice.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
I guess I'm making light of it. Yeah, I am. But you started it with spectroscopy, so.
I can understand this confusion.
Are you still gonna make fun of me about like I couldn't pronounce the word? I still can't pronounce the word. I probably still can't pronounce the word.
All right. I won't. I
It's,
won't.
Do you
it's
even
all
know what
good,
it
man.
is?
We can joke every once in a while.
Yeah,
right? You don't have to-
I do know what the word is. Yeah.
Hold on. What is the word? What is it then, please?
Well, it's about looking at the light spectrum, like looking at light spectrum.
What about looking at the light spectrum?
Well, it's using an instrument to look at the light spectrum to discern certain elements in that light.
And what's the instrument called?
Oh, no,
That's my last
don't do
question.
that. Come on, don't do it. It's a spectrum.
Spectra.
Oh God!
No, that's
It's
not.
right on the tip of my tongue, but I just can't say it.
Spectrography.
I can't say the fucking
No,
word.
he's right. I mean, obviously, the root word is spectra,
Don't
right?
make.
So
Don't make.
he is right.
Okay. Well. Right. Okay.
But
I'm
is
right in what I was saying. I know. I
spectroscopy
knew
or
what I was
just-
talking about.
All right, we won't make fun of you anymore. You're okay.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, how dare you? Then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the shape of the Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now, we are joined by Chocolate Saiyan, The Plain Truth, Sleeping Warrior, Paul, 10th Man, Arwin, and a whole bunch of people on Discord. Very good to have you one and all.
Good afternoon.
Yo, yo.
Hello, hello, hello. What ho?
Hello. Any signs of Earth curvature? Talking
No.
to you, Discord server. Ballers. No? Any signs of Earth curvature? Keen panel?
Nah.
No curvature here, Nathan.
Crickets.
Any signs of axial rotation in that case?
Not of
No.
the Earth variety.
Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
There's no confirmed measured distance to the sun.
Any evidence that you can have gas pressure without the necessary antecedent of a container to press upon?
That's a trick question.
It's a question with an answer in it.
Well, it's technically impossible.
Nada.
So
That's the answer. Can't have gas pressure without something to press upon. The walls of a container are what give you the gas pressure.
Nathan, we'd be talking about gravity. Gravity would cause pressure.
Oh, right. Any scientific
Right.
evidence of gravity?
Scientific evidence of what?
Gravity. Scientific evidence thereof.
Travis, you need to show up just to
Things-
do that every day, please.
Things fall.
Sorry,
Things fall. I drop
I'll
them.
just
that's
repeat the
scientific
question.
evidence.
I'll just repeat
I
the
love it.
question. Any scientific evidence of gravity?
Scientific evidence of what?
Gravity. Scientific evidence thereof.
When I pee, it falls on the ground.
That's scientific
The
evidence.
crew.
That's it, good folks.
doesn't-
We got science. It's
Usually
all
goes down the
factual.
toilet, right? Things go down the
Well,
toilet.
Nathan, you can pack up now because
Is
he
that
finally
your-
found the scientific evidence.
Is that your standard? Is that your standard for science? Things fall. No wonder why you guys believe all this stuff.
Do we have another things fall down, go boom boom?
Yes. Things go down, go boom boom, apparently.
Down, down.
Don't get him started, chocolate.
yeah, thanks. Oh,
So, have you got
I'm
any
gonna-
we
scientific
have a-
evidence or not?
There is evidence of more pressure the further you go down. So, like in oceans, the further you go down in an ocean, there's more pressure involved.
I'll
right?
just say it a third time. Any scientific evidence of gravity.
That would be evidence.
You do
Certainly,
know what
sure.
scientific evidence entails, right?
Does there need to be a scientist involved, like a guy in a white coat?
That's not what makes science science. A scientist doesn't make science. Man in a white coat. Sorry, why are you laughing while I'm in the middle of a sentence?
So,
Somebody else.
readdress what makes science scientific evidence.
So you don't understand what scientific evidence is? Is that what you're saying?
No, I just want your explanation of it so that I can address
No,
your
that's not
question.
gonna-
Really, we are on show 880, and I have talked about science for approximately 700 of those shows. So maybe listen to the show as opposed to giving us what you call evidence and brushing past the scientific bit, then asking me to define something that you don't understand. Maybe look it up, rather than holding up the housekeeping without scientific evidence of gravity.
Well, I just want to understand what you understand as scientific evidence.
Just divine it. Just make it up.
No, that would be unfair. It would be unfair of me to divine that information.
Right.
As you clearly said to me, but previously, I shouldn't be able to divine things.
Okie dokie.
So
science is
I would
fairly
like-
Okay, don't just keep droning on. Science is fairly reasonably, that's a contradiction, but very thoroughly defined. You can find this information of your own volition. My thoughts and feelings on it are irrelevant. It's just a method.
Should I just Google it, Oakley? Should I just Google it?
I'll give you a hint at what to Google. The scientific method. Evidence that we're looking for will have
And I should trust that.
What I would
right?
advise
should
is
trust
when someone's talking,
what I
giving you an
Googled
answer
there.
to your question, given that you don't know, I would not talk when that person's telling you. That's what you've just done. So I would advise.
But I'm
yeah, you're
interested-
doing
I'm
it again there,
interested-
son.
but
Yeah, you're doing it
but I'm-
again.
but I'm
You're doing it
interested-
again. You see,
but
I'm
I'm
trying to give you some
interested.
tips, and you're continuing
when
to talk.
I said earlier, that-
Right, this guy's an asshole. Let's shut that guy up. Wanker, go and scientific method Google search. Yeah, that's what you need to do. Not continually babble on through something that should be quite concise. Do you have scientific evidence of gravity? The answer from you, the guy who doesn't know what science is definitely no.
Hey, Nathan, after you're done, we have Zanuck on board, so
We're
just
nearly
let you
there.
know.
Nearly there. Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth? Moving on. Any evidence of the R value?
Nothing over here, Nathan, on Discord.
Nope, that's it then. That rounds out the housekeeping.
There's definitely evidence of the R.
You're a bit quiet, Zanuck. Let's see if I can turn you up. Shout out to Paul Hall for the super chat. Scientism is not the scientific method. Indeedy do. Thanks for the super chat, Paul Hall.
What was that, Zanuck?
I said there's evidence of the R. You can calculate that pretty easily from the curve you can measure.
Can you get closer to your mic?
Okay.
There you go. How's that? A little better?
Much better. That's better.
Good.
Okay, good. So you can calculate R by knowing the circumference of a sphere. And you can do that by looking at the observable curvature by how things drop in the distance.
You were here the whole housekeeping, right? What curvature?
Curvature.
What sphere?
Things falling away in the distance, measurably.
You'll have to repeat that. I'm sorry, Zanuck. Say that again.
Mountains missing in the distance, measurably measuring curvature, measuring the circumference of the Earth, which can be measuring the R value.
Like, mountains disappear. That was so convoluted. Just say it all again concisely. What gives you the R value exactly?
In the distance, mountains sinking, mountains that are missing or hidden by curvature proves a circumference. The circumference will prove the R. And I use the word proof because mathematics is pretty defined. It's not a construct. It's not made up. It's not in our imagination. It's
Okay, I've got it. So let's just take it one step at a time. Mountains in the distance disappearing. You then inserted that's curvature. So validate that.
Or they fell into a sinkhole. There's two options.
Sorry, there's only two options. Either they go over Earth curve or they go into sinkholes. You think that false dichotomy is our only options?
There are some minor variables like refraction, but that's not enough to substantiate what we see.
And how will you be measuring refraction?
Well, there's actually calculations of refraction based on the air density and temperature and humidity.
Okay, right, cool. Let's see it.
If you even had refraction, it would actually allow you to see
maybe
more
you didn't
than
hear me, Zanuck. Yeah, I got it all. Now show me.
Okay, I'm going to discount it all together. We don't even need to look at refraction because it doesn't work that way.
No. Right, you've given us an example of how you've acquired the R value with mountains disappearing with a false dichotomy either over a presupposed Earth curve or into a sinkhole. You've then declared that there's also the factor... I'm talking, Zanuck. I'm summarising what you've told us. That there's also measured effects based on atmospheric conditions of refraction that will be taken into consideration. That's wonderful. Now show this to me, please.
You want a citation? You want a calculation? What do you want? A formula? Equation? What do you want?
The example that you've just given. You've just given us an example. I've just summarised it. You talked over me. This time, don't talk over me. Okay? Listen to what I say. You've just told us you have an example of how to calculate the R value based on mountains in the distance, a false dichotomy of either Earth curve presupposition or sinkholes, and also a factoring in of refraction. I'm now asking you to show us this example that you extrapolate the R value from.
Fair enough. Let me post a picture in Discord.
Hey, Nathan, I'll go ahead and share the screen.
What's the hold-up? Just give us what you've described, Zanuck. What's the hold-up? You've just described something in great detail. Now I want you to show it me. Why is the silence? I don't get it.
It's not going into Discord. For some reason, it's not actually allowing it to go.
Put it in live stream.
There it is. Okay, I got it.
The sound of your clicking is louder than you are, Zanuck. You realise that, right?
Okay.
We've been over this before, haven't we?
Well, we haven't, but we left out one critical element of looking at this before. And what the critical element is when you start speaking of refraction, the refraction is going to allow you to see more than we see. We're actually seeing a missing 7,000 foot of that mountain. Refraction would work the other way around. It'd actually allow us to see more of it.
Really? How?
Has he
How does
heard
that
of
work?
sinking? Has he heard of
Do you
sinking?
know how refraction?
Part of the refraction.
Do you understand how refraction works?
Sorry, just
Have you heard?
Yes, I
hold
do.
on, hold on,
Because
hold on,
what he
hold on,
does
please, John.
in
Hold
air
on,
is
hold on,
diffuse.
hold on. Sorry. So you said that there's a mountain. I can see a mountain. So what's all the refractive index values? Is that what's at the bottom?
That
At the
can't
bottom,
work.
we're looking at where the bottom of the mountain would be. I mean, that's why there's a scale on the right-hand side of the
Don't
picture.
tell me something other than what I've asked for. You said the refractive values had all been measured. Just tell me where that is.
There is no refraction in the direction that would allow the mountain to be looming.
That's
Sorry,
a description. That's a description.
Arwin. You said they had it measured. I want to see those measurements or understand them if they're already being shown.
You wanted to see the effect of a mountain sinking in the distance. And
No. I summarised twice, with interruption from you, what you said you had. Measured refractive values based on atmospheric conditions. That's what you said. Now, are they not on this picture?
You're focusing on a minor factor of this.
I'm focusing on what you said you had.
I have a picture of a mountain disappearing in the distance by 7,000 feet of 11,000 feet.
Don't keep summarising what... Zanik, you're going to piss me off real fast. Right? I listened to what you said you'd got. Yeah? I summarised what you said you got. Now I've put something that you've presented on screen, and if you're going to tell me an aspect that needs to be taken into account has not been measured when you said it has been measured, I'm going to call you a liar. So either you say, yes, what I detailed, including the measurements of the refractive indexes, is on this, and you need to apologise for even hinting that I'm a liar, or no, they're not on there as I declared, and then I will call you a liar. So which is it?
The refractive index is not on the picture. You're
right, you lying sack of shit. Why are you coming here and lying to us? So you don't have that. So refraction, Zanik, because you've obviously wormed it and weaseled it in because you realise that that's an effect that does need to be taken into consideration, that does need to be accurately measured. This is meaningless without that little detail that you told us you had, you liar. So next time, Zanik, you better make damn sure that you come with all of those refractive indexes. Now, what I want, because I'm an unreasonable flat earther, is it measured every single foot between us and the observation. Because apparently, according to your zealot priest Rumpus, there's these little layers of glass that go all the way, infinite little layers of glass refracting the light along a presupposed curve. So I'm going to need to see the measurements for every single one of those presupposed bits of glass refracting the atmosphere and the light. I need to see every single one of those measurements. The fact that you said you'd got them and then you present this shit without it is a bloody outrage, you liar.
Are you finished?
How dare you? You are a liar. Am I finished? No, I'm not finished. Don't come here and lie to us. Don't tell us you've got refractive measured indexes and then don't give them us. And then when I have to pin you down and you tell us what you have got 3 or 4 times, obfuscating the lie that you've told us, how dare you ask if I'm finished? You're finished, you sack of shit liar. You've got nothing.
The refractive index of air is 1.
You're a liar. You don't have anything. I've just made it clear. You don't have measured refractive indexes. You said you got them. Now you're going to rumpus and claim that your presupposed measurements are satisfactory or something. You haven't got the thing you said you had, making you a liar. I'm no longer interested in anything you claim, you liar, because you're a liar. Don't say you got measured refractive indexes when you haven't, and then bullshit your way around them. That just makes you a liar.
Arwen talked about the refractive effect.
I don't want to talk about them. I want to see the measurements, you dumb ass.
It only works against your presupposed
How the hell would you know you haven't got the measurements? How the hell would you know? You're going to divine the measurements, are you?
So when you look at and see the Earth is flat, how
you haven't answered, mate. You haven't answered. Are you going to divine the measurements?
You can't possibly expect.
It's a yes or no question, Zanik, you lying sack of shit. It's a lie. Oi, liar. Oi, liar. Listen to the question. Don't talk over it and just answer. Are you going to divine the refractive indexes?
In this example, the air is cooler than the ground, so refraction.
Oh, so he is.
Nathan.
So
I
that's a
think
yes. I am now going to divine the conditions that are in this picture because I've got refractovision.
You're getting triggered because you know I'm right.
Oh yeah, I know you're right, Spider-Man, with your refractovision. You know exactly what the air temperature was on that day. You know exactly how much it changed foot by foot between you and observation, don't you? Because you're a refracto man.
No, what we do know, though, the air in no circumstance would the air be cooler than the ground or warmer.
We know. No, you measure, dipshit, the thing you said you had before you presented lies.
You don't need to measure it. You know that the.
Oh, now we don't need to. He told us that's what he'd got. Now he's telling us he doesn't need to do it because he hasn't got it. The very thing he claimed he'd got.
Because I understand how refraction works.
Yeah,
Don't
you
laugh
just need
here,
to assume
sunshine.
the R-based refraction.
He's laughing. I'll tell you who he's laughing at. The audience. The people who want to believe him when he says he's on a spinning ball. The audience are who you're laughing at when you lie to them. You didn't have what you claimed. You're just going to divine the atmospheric conditions based on your presupposition. We haven't even got to the bit where you presuppose curve. We haven't even got there yet. We've literally just got to the point where we see whether or not you've got what you claimed. We haven't even started to rip apart your actual presupposition of Earth curve being the cause. We've only got to whether or not you've got what you've claimed you've got, and you haven't. And you still want to continue.
And this was proof of radius?
What an
How is
absolute
that proof
joke.
of radius?
I think the guy
You figured
thinks
out-
it's okay to beg the
you figured out
question here. I think he's not informed properly about that.
Really?
It's a liar.
What am I not
Lied.
informed about?
Said we need
Well-
refractive indexes, said we've got them measured, and atmospheric
I gave you a
conditions made it
refractive
seem really
index. I gave you a
important.
refractive-
And then
refractive index of air-
when asked whether or not he's actually got them, and pointing out like I am now that he hasn't, he talks all over me non-stop. So I don't humiliate the lying little shit. You haven't got anything that you claimed you'd got. We haven't even got to ripping apart the claim itself. Just challenging you on based on what you said you'd got. And you haven't even got it. It's pathetic.
I gave you a refractive index and I gave you a picture of a mountain missing 7,000 feet.
Did you just say I gave you a
Based on
refractive
what?
index, liar? So he's just
Based on
literally
your wet
claimed.
finger work.
He's just literally claimed he's given us a refractive index. Lying sack of shit.
No, 1.
Refracto man.
03.
Refracto man.
Yeah, you
But
laugh
there's
it up,
this
you
thing about
liar.
actual-
That's what liars do when they get caught. They have a little chuckle to themselves. Oh, the gig's up. My lie's been caught out. You disgust
Right, I don't
me.
have it on that.
You disgust me.
No, I don't. You're just frustrated.
Yes, you disgust me. Liars, cheats, scammers, swindlers, frauds. That's what you are. You disgust me.
Because
Very
I'm
triggering subject. We
evidence
just
of a
need
rounding
to
error.
calm down a little bit.
I'm leaving out a rounding error, and that disgusts you. Okay.
Can I ask you
So
a
what-
question, sir?
You're a liar.
ahead.
That's what
Please,
disgusts me.
Nathan,
Your lies.
This may be relevant, Nathan. Please. So,
Sorry, Owen.
how have you been following the flat Earth debates, and for how long?
Well, for a while now.
How long, please?
A couple of years, maybe.
Wow.
That's just
Okay,
not
then
fair.
yeah, Nathan's right. You have no excuse. Absolutely.
For not bringing the evidence, we're discussing things. Someone asked for evidence.
You
of
should be
curvature
knowing
or-
better. You should have been educated by the system of debating and argumentation that we have been deepening here on the show very regularly. You should know about these things, and you should know that your approach is just inferior. It doesn't work.
Shout out to Paul Hall. Scientism give just so stories.
So fallacy.
Indeed,
You just
Paul
can't
Hall.
discount someone's
Shout out for the
based
super
on-
chat.
Pardon me?
He's shut out for super chat.
Yeah,
Okay.
you were over talking
Zanuck-
him while Zanuck, you were over talking him while he was giving the shout out there. Thanks.
Oh, sorry.
Zanuck, isn't it true that an IR infrared photo is the is to reduce the refraction?
No, it's to filter out certain wavelengths of light and noise and distortion.
And is those lights part of those refractions?
Do you understand? how refraction works?
Do you understand
how
how
it
refraction
culminates.
works?
Oh, no, no,
Like,
no, 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 sir. We're not going down this road.
I would
well,
like
No.
to.
we know how.
I
let
would
me-
like to. We already
refraction.
threw him over. He has no argument, basically.
That's
But
what
I
I'm
would like to
saying.
go into the details of how
Refraction changes
refraction
the
actually
speed.
works.
From Xanax,
Yes,
he's already
refraction
been
changes
toe
the
tagged.
speed of light, and
We know,
look.
we know, John.
Yeah,
As
we're
you
not
go
doing
through-
this. We're not
Why
wasting the
not?
time.
No, you're not doing this, but we
You're
are
changing the-
actually doing
No,
changing
you're
the
not.
density of the medium.
You
Okay,
get-
Nathan,
interrupt
John
each
is
other.
disrupting the conversation. Please.
No, what's happening is
You ask me.
what's
how,
happening is Zanuck,
You ask
who's
me a question. I'm going to
Zanek's trying to
you know?
distract from the embarrassing, humiliating situation.
No, absolutely not. I wasn't even done with that.
Not you, Zanuck. So what Zanek's doing is obfuscating his abject failure, his lies, his deceit, and all he can do is rumpus when that's pointed out. Now, deviating away from the fact that he hasn't provided what he said he would in terms of refractive indexes or anything that he said that he had, doesn't mean that he suddenly gets to chat about refraction. You know, if you're going to make a claim that you've got refraction under your belt in your example, and then you don't get to talk about that subject. It seems totally unreasonable that he should be the one to now talk about refraction.
Well, it was mostly going to be me talking about it and actually schooling him about what I've learned about refraction.
Talk to the audience. Just
And the audience.
Fine. Just don't
If
address
I
it to
may.
Zanuck. He's not worthy of your conversation, that's all.
No, but I am kind of directing it to him, despite everything.
Yeah, fair enough.
Right, so Zanuck, look, the thing about refraction, how we in the Flat Earth debates first arrived with refraction is the Globers gave it as an argument as to why things would be looming around the curve and be visible at such a distance, okay? But then we basically got a couple of people out here that really know the details about optics and lenses and have studied that stuff. And then we figured out that the terrestrial refraction that supposedly looms things around curves doesn't really have any viable evidence for it, any physical proof. It's basically an assumption, and then sometimes the Globers try to demonstrate it by showing like super cold gases over a curve and how light would kind of bend to that. But it's all wizardry, it's all trickery. There's no actual physical scientific evidence for that. So what you're talking about is terrestrial refraction, but there is no actual evidence for it. It's an assumption. It's an R-based assumption.
So you're saying refraction does not
Hold
occur.
on. Almost done. Actual refraction, however, does exist. What you notice it with the most is when you let light transfer a different type of medium. So, for example, if you have a light, you shine it through the air onto a glass aquarium with water in it. Now, the light path is definitely going to bend. That's the most noticeable form of actual proven refraction. Now, there's one thing about that. The bending really works when there is a medium transit, an actual medium transit. So say from gas to solid or gas to liquid. Now, when we look through the atmosphere, there is no such medium transfer. There is only the gas you're looking through, and maybe there may be deviations within that gas due to how much water is dissolved in it and all of that.
No. It's density and
Hold
temperature.
on. Because there is no medium transfer, the actual refraction is literally insignificant. And what it effectively does is diffuse the light rather than bend it around.
What do you say?
Now that doesn't explain all things because there are still miraging effects, all that.
It does
they are
bend
not
the light.
attributed to refraction.
It bends the light, but how are you saying it's not bending
I'm
the
done
light?
now.
It's doing something else?
Thank you for listening without interrupting. So.
What was the word? I asked the question. I couldn't understand the word you used. You said it wasn't
maybe if
bending
you
the light,
hadn't
it was doing-
interrupted me, okay, then you would have heard it.
I told you not to address it to him.
You said it doesn't bend the light. What does it do?
It doesn't
Diffuse.
bend a light around a curved surface. That doesn't work. It changes the angle of the light if there is a medium change.
Correct.
Like gas
Or a
to
density
solid.
change or a temperature change. Yes.
Yeah, the temperature has an influence, but the actual significant element to it is the medium change. Yes, Heat has an influence on the refraction index, but the medium change is the thing that really makes it divert its path. And in a singular medium, the atmosphere, which may have different pressures, all that, but it's still one gaseous atmosphere. Through that, it's not going to have the same deviation result with the light path because it is a singular medium.
I'm going to read out Rune Thornson's comment. No, it is the problem with the terminology. It never bends light in any case. It changes angles.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Every
okay.
wavelength of light will have a different angle change. That's why you get a rainbow if you had the amount of diffraction, of refraction that we were talking about possible in making a mountain sink that much or rise that much.
No, that's not the refraction you'll
What
be
does
applying.
that have to do with rainbows?
Yeah, that's
Because
real refraction.
That's how refraction works.
Zanik.
If you had a huge level of refraction
Zanik,
due to the
Zanik. That's not terrestrial refraction.
It is terrestrial refraction. Of course
Nope.
it is.
No. That's
Terrestrial refraction is 7/6R. 7/6R. That's what terrestrial refraction is.
That's the index. That's a general
No,
average.
that's a 7/6 of a begging the question radius value that you said you were trying to prove when you made this example. So according to the mathematics that will be applied, you will beg the question and already have a radius value, something that you said you would be proving with this example. So this is the end of this conversation.
You got it backwards.
The end.
Radius.
You have begged
got
the
it backwards.
question.
In my explanation, it's the first thing I explained to you.
Downward.
Terrestrial refraction is a myth. Actual refraction is a different effect. It doesn't bend around a curve. It deviates the light path upon medium transition.
You have to have a denser air above the surface of the water or air.
Oh, can you show us
Correct.
that? Can you show the measurements for the picture that you
That
gave
an
us?
abrupt medium transition.
Hold on, Owen. We'll just draw the conclusion again. The one that was deviated away from. So that's what you need, is it, Zanik? And do you have those for those images?
Yes.
Give them to
Sheeples
me.
posted that. The green laser bending upward across the
No,
lake.
no, Zanik. Not a different example. The example that you gave. Not a new example.
You'll never get it because we're over land,
Zanik, you're talking over me constantly. So you gave an example, I put it up on screen, I went to the effort of transitioning across to that example. Now, I've asked it before and you've said no, but now in conversation you've made it clear that we'd need to know temperature differentials, even though terrestrial refraction is 7/6 of the begging the question fallacy, i.e. you're assuming your outcome in the very value of refraction that you're trying to prove, R. So 7/6 R already includes R. So it's begging the question, Zanik.
You're saying that the light is bending downward with that ratio.
No, I'm saying that's refraction. What
It's
you
bending,
will
that's why
apply
they do 7 or 6.
before he talks all over me, because of course it's the globe head mute button. I'm going to have to start pointing out when the globe head mute button comes along, because when I point out that Zanik's begging the question, that terrestrial refraction 7/6R includes the very thing he's trying to prove, therefore begging the question, it's time for him to talk all over me. He's not got any of the refractive values that he said he'd need only moments earlier, and when asked if he's got them for the picture again that he didn't because he lied, he talks all over me then as well. So you're begging the question, Zanik. You've already got R, and you're trying to prove R.
I got R from the amount of sinking the mountains are observed to have.
Yeah, that's why it's begging the question. If you're trying to prove R, this is why you brought this up, I can prove R. You've already got it. That's called begging the question. Assuming the very thing you're trying to prove in your outcome.
We've observed it. We've observed...
Oh, so now we've observed it. So your example wasn't us measuring R then. You're just going to tell us that it's been observed and it's okay to beg the question. No, you stupid idiot.
The measurement is...
Oh, now he's been caught out, so he's going to have a little chuckle. Yeah, when I point out that he's already got an R value, and that's begging the question, assuming your outcome, yeah, he says, we already know, trying to justify his begging the question fallacy. And then he has a little chuckle when the penny drops, or rumpuses the living shit out of me and talks incessantly while I point out his logical fallacy. Because, of course, the conclusion of his mistake, his flaw in his logic, that needs to be censored. He needs to talk all over the top of me pointing out that terrestrial refraction, the bending of light, as he calls it, 7/6 is the very thing he's trying to prove with his example. He said he'd measured r. No, my friend, we know it. Demonstrates admirably that you're assuming it already, begging the question. Fallacious reasoning, not sound, Zanuck. End of conversation.
You'd have to establish the R thing first, I guess, when you're otherwise it's going to be circular. In
Even Dawn gets it, Zanuck.
No, we measure the curve of the Earth by the drop of the mountain, and then we can then extrapolate and get R value from that.
I guess he wants to see that.
Sorry, no.
But what if the drop value is not consistent?
Sorry, you said we can get R from it. Then you made it clear, Zanuck, that refraction was also something that needed to be taken into consideration. So, what are you going to now... Sorry, Zanuck, I'm still talking. Yeah, you know what I mean? I know. A loss is terribly, terribly heartbreaking for you. But that doesn't mean that you non-stop talk over the obliteration of your fallacious logic. I'll point it out whether you like it or not, Zanuck. Assuming one's outcome is begging the question. And the very refraction I claimed you were a liar, because you are, that refraction in your world is 7/6r, terrestrial refraction. And that is what you're trying to prove. Now, you can chuckle about it because you've been caught out begging the question, but it doesn't make it sound logic. It doesn't mean that the very thing that I called you a liar on suddenly can be whistled past and told that it can be an extrapolation based on your begging the question fallacy. No, Zanuck. You don't just get to keep on piling on more fallacious logic. I've had enough.
Fallacious logic and observation, showing curvature and then you can extrapolate out.
Showing curvature. You just can't help it. He's got to beg the question. Just tell it. Praise be to R. Tell us that it's curvature when you can't prove it with measurements or facts or information or refractive indexes that assume the outcome R. Yeah, when you can't do any of that, just tell us that it's a photo of curve. Just tell us that you're assuming your outcome. Yeah, that'll work, Zanuck. Just tell us it's curve. It's curve.
It is curve.
Yeah, you fundy dick. I love it when the fundies make my point literally seconds after I've made my point. Yeah, you're going to beg the question whether we like it or not. You're going to demand that it's curvature. Yeah, okay, Zanuck.
Okay, then
pipe down, son. Pipe down. Yeah. Pipe down. Sit back down.
Refraction works to my advantage, not yours.
Yeah, because you assume that it's got an R value in it. Yeah, you can be damn sure that's going to work to your advantage if I let you beg the question and assume your outcome. But I'm not going to, Zanuck. How many times have we got to do this?
Terrestrial refraction, then the value you gave us would allow us to see more of the mountain than we actually do.
Yeah,
terrestrial refraction is 7/6r, and this example is supposed to be a measurement of R. So you've already got R, and you're proposing that this is a proof of measuring R. So you've already got the thing that you're claiming you're trying to prove, the very essence of begging the question. Isn't going to work.
We're observing. In fact, we're seeing a little more of the mountain than we should due to refraction.
A little more than we should? Oh, should according to what?
According to basic trigonometry.
Trigonometry based on what?
Based on the law of sines, law of cosines, law of triangles. These are laws. You like the second law of thermo, why not law of math?
Those are mathematical laws.
Arwin?
Yes,
so
and you don't believe that...
Arwin, thank you so much. Now he won't shut up. So, the mathematics of a sphere, perchance?
Mathematics of a triangle. Making it easy for you.
Oh, so it's a triangle?
Triangle.
Why would we be doing the mathematics of a triangle?
We should see the entire mountain.
Sorry. According to you, it's dropping around a sphere, correct? You said compared to how much we should see, and I'm asking based on what? And you've said mathematics. I've said mathematics of what? You just don't want to go into the trap again, do you, Zanuck? We all know that it's the mathematics of a sphere, Zanuck, but you just won't say it.
Slightly less than 8 inches per mile squared missing. That is a sphere.
Ah, so you're already assuming that the amount that's gone is because of how much a sphere says should be gone. So that's 2 counts of begging the question. So according to you, the picture demonstrates how much should be gone on a sphere. Well, isn't that the very thing you're trying to prove? So saying this is how much is gone on a sphere assumes you are on a sphere. Again, begging the question, Zanuck.
Well, how much is gone if you're on a flat plane? That is not begging the question. That shows that there's missing 7,000 feet out of 11,000 feet.
And what's the cause of that? Okay. What's the cause? What cause is that?
Earth curve.
Nathan, can I ask you something?
See? No matter what happens, they must beg the question. So when I say, what causes that? He automatically goes to his religious assertion of Earth curve. He already knows the cause because he's begging the question. He's just too dumb to accept it and must obfuscate and rumpus me when I point it out. You can be damn sure that Zanuck's going to talk indefinitely when I point out that how much is missing on a sphere assumes you're on a sphere. Begging the question, Zanuck. It's all you can do. Go ahead, Paul. Shut up, Zanuck.
Hey, Zanuck, let me ask you a question. Can you explain to me how mathematics has any causal relationship in this world? But can you explain the connection between mathematics and causation? Because I didn't think an abstract concept can have any kind of causal effect. I would help. Could you help me out with that?
Sure, no problem. So if I'm looking at a triangle and I lengthen one side, that lengthening of the side will cause an angle change. There, cause and effect. Done.
You said something in there when you cause the line, when you cause the angle change. So math didn't cause it, you caused it.
Oh God. When you observe a lengthening of a distance, you will see an angle change. Cause and effect.
What caused the lengthening of the distance? Did mathematics cause that?
No, the observation.
Changing an angle is considered math, but I don't agree that.
Go on, he's not talking to you.
If I look at 2 different distances, I'll get 2 different angles.
So looking is the cause. So not math, but looking is the cause of what you're saying.
Really? You're going there? Looking is the cause? No.
I mean, I'm asking you about math, but everything you're describing, it's either observation, which is looking, either I'm doing something, which is me causing it. You still haven't shown how math has a causal relation. You still haven't done that.
How math has a causal relationship. Yes, I just told you, explained it in a simple demonstration.
No, you didn't. I just said it. Observation is not a cause. You're saying my observation caused it. That's what you're saying.
I can make 2 observations, one of a longer distance than the other. I'll have 2 different angles. The observation is not the cause.
But my question is, we're talking about math. So I asked the question is, how does math or angles have any causal power or relationship? So far, you've not done that.
Okay, so I add 1 plus 1 and I get 2. There's the causal and the causal.
Another example.
I added the 1 to the 1, so I'm the cause. Okay.
No. You're describing. Mathematics describes. I have 2 objects, right?
Describes reality. Yes.
But no, you're just describing reality. You're describing what's occurring, but you're not. There's no causal relationship there.
I'm the cause of one of that being 2 because I added it, or is it because there's 2?
If I have an object and I bring another object into play, I have 2 objects. I'm the cause of bringing the 2 objects together. The math describes what I just did, but it didn't cause that thing. It didn't cause it.
This is interesting.
Math is an
values are not causes.
Dawn and Arwen. Hold on. I just want Zanuck and Paul.
Okay. So again, explain to me how math has any causal power.
You change one of the variables and you get a different effect.
Who changed the variable?
Yes, you get a different outcome. You
I
add
said no. That
something.
who changed the variable? Who changed it?
I changed
Did math change
anyone
it,
can
or
do
did you? Okay, so you're the
Nature can do
cause.
it. You can do it. Anyone. You observe a distance. You can observe two distances, but me observing the distance did not cause the angle to change.
So observation is the causal a factor in this.
Hold on a second. Hold on.
then
You
let's
observing?
let
Hold
the
on,
judge and the
Zanik. I
jury
just want to
decide
get clarity on
whether
that
it's
point.
actually
Sorry, Zanik, to interrupt. You said you observing an angle doesn't cause it to change. Well, no. If I sit looking at an angle, it doesn't change. You're right. So there is no effect to be observed, unless you say maybe changing your position, for example. Do you understand? Do I need to repeat it?
Yeah, you think the angle changes when you change your position?
No, I'm saying if I just observe something, and you're saying I'm observing an angle, well, I'm just observing an angle. There is no change. Now you're saying if you observe an angle change, well, what's got to happen first? Maybe a move, maybe a repositioning, for example, to make the angle change? In other words, something's going to happen. The maths isn't going to suddenly cause that angle to change. You stay static.
Actually, it won't.
Maths
You have to
doesn't
actually-
cause the angle to change. You could change your position, but that would be you moving your position, wouldn't it? That's Paul's
Changing your
point.
position, the angle.
Stuttering and muttering over the top rather than giving a concise rebuttal. That's Paul's point. So don't talk till I finish. Wait till the end, then give a concise, clear rebuttal. His point, unless you physically change something, if you are static and observing an angle, whatever the hell that means, nothing's changing until you move or change something. That's Paul's point. Maths does not change the angle.
Your observation point does not change the angle either.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah, it
there's a
would.
problem here with causation. This guy, Zanik,
Exactly,
doesn't
that's my
understand
point.
causation.
Exactly, that's my
It doesn't
point. He
change.
doesn't understand. He thinks math causes something and it doesn't. He thinks angles cause something and it doesn't.
Hold on, Paul.
Zanik,
Hold on, Anthony. Hold on. It was the conclusion. Paul's drug him around by his short hairs. He comes to make the conclusion Zanik's going to rumpus him. Because that's the most important bit, right, Paul? So can you make your point again? Let's see if Rumpus can keep... not Rumpus. Rumpusing. Zanik can keep his mouth shut while you make the conclusion again.
Math has no causal power whatsoever. Your observation has no causal power whatsoever. The only thing it may, if there's any effect in your observation, is when I move and something is occurring in my brain, but it doesn't change what's going on out in the real world. Math has no power to do anything. It only describes.
I think Zanik gets that, but
Obviously, he doesn't, because every time he says the angle changes. Well, somebody changed. I mean, the angle. The angle changed because something happened. Somebody moved, or my observation changed. The angle, your observational angle, can change by something happening out there as well. It could be a refractive index. It could be who knows what. But until you eliminate all the variables, math causes nothing. Math describes.
you couldn't. Yeah, I agree. I was trying to think of a way.
Oh,
where someone could
wow.
work.
Somebody agreed with me. Holy cow. Mark that down. What was the timestamp?
That was Don agreeing with you.
Actually,
I
you're
think
incorrect.
manipulating one side of a triangle causes the angle of the triangle to change, but you're not changing reality in any way, are you? You're just
Triangle is a
changing your
conceptual thing,
picturing of
Don.
reality.
It's not actually
Yeah, I know
physical.
that. I'm just trying to talk around it.
I can have a refractive index that changes it, or I can lengthen a side or observe it at a greater distance. Both can have the same effect.
Triangle to change, but it doesn't cause any effect in reality, does it?
That's the reality.
Wait,
You're
let's go
changing the
back to what
triangle.
Zanik said something really
No,
interesting.
it's a
It's crucial.
derivative. Math is a
Wait a
derived
minute.
conceptual thing.
Hang on, Erwin. Zanik said something very crucial. He says either the observer changes or the refractive index changes. There's two possible causes in this observation. Either the observer changes or the refractive index changes. You got to eliminate one of those two options to prove a cause.
All right, so limit it down to one possible cause and maybe vary that and see if it caused the effect, that sort of thing.
Yes.
You can do that.
How?
You can do that by observation. Get closer to that mountain.
No,
and see if that affects-
observation has no causal power. Observation has no
We can change.
causal power.
Accepting
Yeah, so
quantum
we-
mechanics.
For example,
Well, that's
we go
different.
from
Yeah.
one.
No,
We
it's
go
not
from one corner of the
observation. Hold
triangle,
on,
go
I can't let that
to
slide.
that
It's not just.
Oh, that's true. That's true. Yeah. Go ahead.
It's not just observation in quantum mechanics. That's not correct, Arwin.
We're talking about the
The
observation.
observation
But
part is the
that's
only
the
thing
dependent
that can be
variable, right?
definitively confirmed.
Method logic.
Sorry, Zanik, your
We're
name's not Arwin.
The mountain's sinking.
That's
the
not
mountain.
your name, Zanik. Arwin.
Oh, do I need to repeat it?
Yeah, it's not observation. It's not cause observation. That's not the case.
Right. Technically, yes, through the reasoning system, but observation is really the only real thing that can be, confirmed, because it is like a physical interaction, as it were, of an individual. That is kind of the thing that makes it physically viable. So I don't know. It doesn't really matter.
Well,
Never mind.
that's not true either. I mean, again, this is above my pay grade, but from my limited understanding of the delayed choice quantum eraser, it's a fire and forget experiment. You don't have to look at it at all.
Yeah, that's a true. Good point.
But then how do you know a result?
It's got what they call a coincidence counter, essentially a computer.
Okay, I'll just re-look into it.
Okay. I couldn't let that slide. Sorry.
All right, fine.
Well, it's not. Wait, just so I'm clear, it's not observation, right? It's the knowledge of the witch path information. Is
Yeah,
that
correct.
What does it?
Yeah, correct. Exactly.
I still look. I have still my doubts about it. Like, how would they even be able to know and isolate a path of a specific particle, as it were?
But they don't. They just observe which slit it goes through.
That doesn't make any sense. Then it's a purely ethereal concept.
No. Well.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
You say so.
Okay. Well, thanks. You just gave me another project. Thank you.
I mean, Right the Hand's got more of a point in the chat. He's saying knowledge is a concept. So if you want to say that knowledge of the witch path isn't a viable independent variable, I'd probably entertain that argument and put it to quantum eraser. But just saying, well, no, that's an ethereal concept. That's not really a great argument, are we?
Well, and also have him.
Of it,
Hold on, Rumpusing. What's going on?
Physicality of it in order for you to manipulate it as an independent variable.
I didn't hear that. There was Rumpusing at the start, Arwin. Can you repeat that?
Yeah, so where then does the physicality aspect come in order for you to be able to confirm, a physical, a natural phenomena and the manipulation of the independent variable? If you can't grasp it somehow, then how, does make sense. Then it's not science. Sorry.
I would like to say, how does you have to define what knowledge is considered an abstract concept? If knowledge is abstract, then it can't be concrete. So I don't. He'd have to unpack what he means by that.
Right. Doesn't mean that I won't entertain it though, but I'll entertain it on another level, just like I entertain the ball.
Can I speak?
Yeah, go ahead.
I've heard people on this show say that math isn't reality. Why is math not reality?
Yeah, let me have
Or
this
why
one.
do you think that math?
I wanted to
Let me have
go
this
ahead.
one. Let me have this one. Gents, let me
Sorry,
have-
Paul. Anthony's going to have this one. You had the last one. Go ahead, Anthony.
So, if I've got 2 ice creams in my hands, right? Can you take 5 ice creams off me and leave me with -3 ice creams?
Hypothetically, yes.
Oh, really?
Sorry, bear with me. But hold on,
hypothetically.
hold on, Anthony. Sorry. Is a hypothetical real?
Oh, you could say that Anthony now owes me 2 ice creams.
Sorry, that's not my question. Is something that is hypothetical real?
No.
So math is not reality.
I give an example.
No, there is already an example. It's called Hilbert's Paradox of the Grand Hotel. Are you familiar with that?
No.
should look it up. Basically, maths cannot be reality if you're going to leave me with -3 ice creams, because I've only got 2 to physically give you. Okay? So in mathematics only, can you take 5 off me and leave me with -3? But in real life, if I've only got 2 ice creams, I can only give you 2 ice creams. I can't give you 5.
Oh, I want to be pedantic for a
I
second.
have-
Really,
But you're-
really bad. So,
You're
Riley,
applying that to
what if
one
you were
concept.
lying about
Arwen,
There's
let
so many
him
different
respond
concepts.
though. Arwen,
Ah.
let him. Come on.
Arwen, are you disrupting
Applying
the
it-
conversation?
I
I'm
guess
on
I
mute.
am.
I'm on mute.
Arwen, are you disrupting the conversation? I thought for sure that Nathan said Anthony. This is Anthony's. Was I mistaken? Are you disrupting this?
It's okay. Let the guy respond.
No, not him. I was asking Arwen if he was disrupting the conversation between Anthony and, is it Babs?
That's right, it's Babs.
That's me.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to make sure. So, Arwen, please don't disrupt the conversation. Thanks.
So can we have a response to my point, please, in mathematics?
Right. What I was saying is that you're applying it to one context. I could do the same thing, and I could say that if I have a cylinder and I want to know how much water, like how much volume I can put into that cylinder, I can get the area of the base and multiply it by the height in order to get the volume. And that applies to reality, and I'm using math to do that. So how is that not reality?
So look up Hilbert's paradox at a Grand Hotel. There's your answer. If you've only got a set amount of rooms in a hotel, no matter how many mathematical applications you apply to it, there's a limit to what you can physically put in there. But in mathematics, you can make infinite variables to however many problems you want to solve mathematically. But in real world, if you've only got 20 rooms, you've only got 20 rooms. That's why maths cannot be reality, because in mathematics, you've got creative license to do whatever you want. But in real world, you have physical limitations. That's why maths is not reality.
Okay, if it's not reality, how come it can be applied to things that do work in reality?
Oh, it can represent reality, but it can also represent nonsense. And it's distinguishing between that nonsense. You know, like how light follows the inverse square law? You can't see light indefinitely, but they tell us that we can see Jupiter at 360 million miles away. No, we can't. Jupiter cannot be that far away because light does not behave the way that mathematically you guys tell us it does. It's subject to the inverse square law. So real world, you can't see that far.
Okay, how do you spell Hilbert? Hilbert's
Hilbert.
principle.
Hilbert. Hilbert's paradox of the hotel.
Hilbert.
It's got a fixed amount of rooms.
Okay.
There's a fixed amount of people that can fit in it. You can't go beyond it.
Can I make a comment? Maybe it will help clear it up for him.
I'll give way, Paul. You got the mic.
Go ahead, Paul.
Math, or actually, I'll ask the question: is math a form of language? Would you agree with that? Or form of information transfer?
Yeah, I would agree to some.
You know, I have these things that run through my backyard all the time. They're called pink unicorns, and they poop cupcakes all over my backyard all the time. Gosh darn it. It's such a hard thing to clean up, but the cupcakes are sweet, so I actually bring them in and feed them to Lily. Now, is that reality?
Oh, that's just ridiculous, and it's not the same. It doesn't apply.
That's what Anthony's saying. Math can describe something that doesn't exist, just like language can describe something that doesn't exist.
That doesn't make language fake. Language is still real.
I didn't say that. I said, and I've said this already. I've already said this in my description. Math describes, but that doesn't mean math is reality.
Correct.
So with
describes reality.
Well, yes, describes, but no matter how well you describe a rock, you can give me it in terms of its absolute dimensions, its volume, whatever. You can give it me in all sorts of different quantifications and descriptions, and I can have an endless ream of paper with endless descriptions, mathematical and verbal, for a rock. But those will never be a rock, ever. The rock is reality, the verbalization or mathematical description is just that, a description.
So we're separating descriptions from actual things that exist in reality.
Right on, sister.
Okay.
The moment you realize that you cannot take 5 ice creams off of Riley if he's only got 2, that's when you realize math is not reality. Yes, you could describe it with it, but it's not actually reality. Because you can't have negative
I know
3
that.
ice creams.
I mean, I
there you
know
go.
that. I'm just trying to wrap my head around the it not being reality when it's actually describing reality. I get your point that it's just it's something that we're using to interpret what we're seeing. It's not necessarily what we're seeing. So I'm just
Exactly.
having a hard time making the separation. Yeah.
So you need to read the Hilbert's Hotel Paradox. You need to understand what that point makes, and then you'll be able to work it out forevermore, and you'll realize that maths can describe reality, but maths is not reality. It's numbers, it's symbols, it's equations, it's formulas, whatever you want to describe maths as, but it's not reality.
And with that, I'll say if you are watching this on the Nathan Oakley 1980 premiering stream, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. However, if you're watching this live on the Nathan Oakley stream, unfortunately, this is where we bid you farewell. A massive, huge, enormous thank you for hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, and all that good stuff. Be sure to check out nathanoakley.com and the Flat Earth Debate Forum, which you should definitely join. Also, of course, a massive thank you to all of today's debating panel for making this debate possible. Stay tuned if you're watching on Nathan Oakley 1980. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Trying to explain this to him.
Go ahead.
Is he here still?
Go ahead, Non.
A lot of clicking.
That's me fiddling around, sorry.
No worries.
You still here, Nathan, that dude?
Yeah, everyone's still
the
here.
Math reality guy.
Everyone's still here.
I'm
Just because
still
the
here.
show's... There you go. Perfect.
All right, so let me tell you something. I'm gonna give you a bank statement. Okay, it's from Chase. It's got Chase logo on there, and it has bank account number, and it tells you I have $4 billion. I have $3 billion in my savings and $1 billion in my checking. Is that reality?
No, it's a representation of
course
reality,
not.
isn't it?
No.
Okay, there you go. That's it.
Okay, so the point that's trying to be made here is that words aren't tangible things. They're kind of wavering
No.
and
Got it the wrong way around.
No,
the point that's trying to be made here is that maths is reality. What we're correcting you with is that maths isn't. It's descriptive, but it's not reality. There's a real world and there's a mathematical world called space-time, and that doesn't exist real world.
Exactly,
Yes,
and you
with
also compared math to language, being that they're both things that are just used to describe reality and not actual reality.
Yes,
Yeah.
you can lie. You can lie with English. You can lie with Hindu. You can lie with mathematics. You can lie.
That's
You
what I.
make all kinds
That's
of
what I meant when I
fancy-
said. That's what
I'm
I
sorry,
meant
I'm
when I
sorry.
said language is wavering, because you can waver it. You can like change it, whereas reality doesn't waver. It's sort of like still. It doesn't change.
That's the point. So you can't use something that's its whole function is to describe something, and take that as 100% real because it can describe bullshit. It's a very simple concept. I don't understand why it's so hard. You can lie. I can tell you the truth about my life, and I can lie to you about my life using English. I can tell you the truth with mathematics, and I can just make up all kinds of shit that doesn't exist, that can't exist, like going back in time. You can't go back in time. Just not gonna happen. But in Einsteinian world, sure you can. It's theoretically possible. No, it's not.
Yeah.
It's bullshit. As soon as that shit comes out, you got a problem. It's nonsense. Throw the whole thing out the window. If all of a sudden in your model you can go back in time, your model is flawed.
Right. I mean, I understand your point now. The difficulty that I was having initially was that you can also use language and math to describe things that are real, but you can also use them to exaggerate and talk about things that are
Exactly.
hypothetical. So
Exactly.
I didn't understand. Yeah.
What's his
When the
problem
model
with it? Just
starts
ask him.
talking-
Wait a minute, on. What's his problem with that, though? He said he has a problem with it. Let him define what his problem is, and then address that.
I mean, I don't have a problem anymore because I understand your point. Your point is that language can be used to describe things that don't exist in reality.
So can maths.
That's the
Exactly.
point that you're trying to make.
Math is
Beautifully
the same.
said.
You can do the same. That's the point.
Exactly.
here's
And all of a
something
sudden,
else.
if your model starts talking about shit that's like cannot exist, right there is a giant waving red flag, like in Leningrad in Russia in '82, big ass red flag that says you got a problem. This clearly is not talking about reality. This is talking about a mathematical construct, a story, Narnia, as we say here. It's
not
not
concrete
real.
now.
If you want to appeal to
Not
authority,
concrete
I actually
now.
talked to a mathematician just recently, like just a few months ago, about this idea. And he's a mathematician, so if you want to do a math equation, he's the guy to go to. If he's to figure it out mathematically, he's the guy to go to. And I actually asked him this question: can math describe reality, but is math reality? And he actually said, no, math is not reality. It can describe things, and you can do things with math. You can kind of figure things out, but it doesn't necessarily describe reality. Even this is a mathematician saying this, but somebody that understands math. So if you want to appeal to authority, I just appeal to authority.
Excellent.
So can we get an acceptance that maths can be reality, but maths also can be a lie?
I'm willing to accept that.
Excellent. Thank God for
Yeah,
that.
it's like the distance to the sun. They can do math.
I think
Yeah.
that's a pretty big concession. That's
It is
great.
I'm so pleased he's done it.
Yeah.
But you should still read about Hilbert's hotel paradox, because that's a really good example of how maths can be abused.
Yeah, I'm gonna look
Is
into
that about the
that,
infinite hotels? I'm sorry.
now.
Yeah, infinite rooms, infinite amount of guests.
Yeah,
It's
that's
just how
really
you
good.
work out the maths.
Yep. You can take out all the even numbers and still have an infinite number of rooms. You can take out you can remove everything from 10 above and have limited, but then replace them and have infinite again.
Yeah, and you can put 10 guests in one room as well. Even if the capacity is only one guest, you can put 10 guests in each room, and that'll free up more space at the other end. So you can take on another 10 times the amount, and all these silly things that in real world you just couldn't do.
Right. Yeah. There's another one. I thought if you want to add one guest, just move the first person in the first room into the second room and just move them all individually up into infinite. And you can still add just one person. You can add infinite number of people or one person all in the same process.
It's describing fractals that go on forever. So you've got one pod, and inside that pod you can have, say, 1 million rooms, or 1 million, although this is the example, 1 million hotels. And inside the 1 million hotels, you can have 1 million hotel rooms. And each time you've got one of those rooms, it can have 1 million pods in it. And so it goes on constantly and constantly expanding indefinitely. So you've got an infinite, as opposed to finite, number of rooms. So a normal hotel has a finite number of rooms. you get to the end of the rooms and no one else can be booked in. Whereas if you've got an infinite number of rooms, you can just constantly shuffle people around and put them into a different room, and there's always more to put people in. It's just a way of qualifying and describing infinity. That's how that paradox works, because obviously in reality things are typically finite. Infinite's just a concept.
And if you think about it in the context of flat Earth or ball Earth, one of the good examples is where this gets abused is how light is supposed to travel. They claim that light can travel infinitely. They say that we can see Jupiter with the naked eye 360 million miles away, and that's nonsense. Light's subject to the inverse square law. You can't see that far, but they do it with the atmosphere as well. They say that the atmosphere descends into a vacuum state gradually over a big distance so that you eventually get to this 10 to the minus 17 torr. There is no vacuum of space. If there was a vacuum of space, our atmosphere would burst into it immediately and we wouldn't be able to breathe. So we know that whatever it is up there, it's not what we're being told, but they use this infinite regress fallacy to explain mathematically that we can have 10 to the minus 17 torr next to a gas pressure because it's of an infinitely descending gradient that seems to defy entropy. And we say, no, that's complete nonsense. Prove that you can have gas pressure next to a vacuum, and you can't do it.
Yeah, but Anthony, why doesn't that happen closer to the surface? Like, why don't we see the pressure at sea level bursting off into the area at, say, the top of Mount Everest?
Because we're under a containment, aren't we? If we didn't have containment, then that's exactly what would happen. It would all burst off into space the way that you've just described, but stopped at Mount Everest. We don't have that. We have a containment. We're breathing air that's contained.
And we also have relative density too. Don't forget that. There's relative density as well.
Right.
Oh yeah.
And like you guys like to say, we have a pressure gradient, right?
Well, are you then suggesting that in order to break thermodynamic laws, you need a container?
No, to avoid breaking them, there has to be a container. So mathematically speaking, you can defy entropy, but real world, you can't. There are no examples where entropy has been defied. You've got to have a container to have gas pressure.
Yeah, I've never opened my soda bottle and left it open and came back to it later, and it's got more carbonation inside of it than outside. Never ever.
The other way is true as well. You've never opened your soda bottle, and the atmosphere from the atmosphere from outside has filled the soda bottle. It's always been the soda bottle that's like evaporated into the atmosphere. Always goes hot goes to cold, pressure goes to non-pressure. Always.
How does that affect the entropy?
Yeah, entropy. Entropy's a bitch.
How does it affect entropy? High pressure going to low pressure, how is entropy affected?
Well, entropy.
Well, that pretty much is entropy, right?
No, it's not.
Yeah, of course it is. Why is
No,
it not?
I mean, like, seeking entropy is high pressure going to low pressure.
No, it's not.
Part of the process.
Order
No, it
into
is not.
disorder. So you had the order of the gas pressure seeking or being released, and you gradually you're increasing entropy.
Whoever said
No, you're not
exactly,
increasing
Anthony's just said it. What you're describing is an increase in entropy.
No, that is not increasing entropy.
What is it?
You know what entropy means?
Yeah,
what entropy
order
is.
to disorder, chaos.
What?
Oh, no, not chaos, but what? Make your point, Zanuck.
No, you tell me what you think entropy is.
The amount of available energy is running out.
Correct.
So what's your point?
Not available energy, usable energy. There's a distinct difference.
So what's your point?
Energy cannot be created or destroyed. You're saying that high pressure going to low pressure is
You're just saying more and more buzzwords. Do you have a point?
You can
That's
have
the
high
first law
pressure
of
going to low
thermodynamics, not the second law, Zanuck. Jeez, oh man.
The second law.
Goodness. Then no one corrected him.
Is the law of entropy.
You just stated that that matter and energy can't be created or destroyed. That is not the second law of thermodynamics.
That's the first law. That's the first law. That's the first law.
Why are you bringing up the first law when you just asked him what the second law is?
I don't know what
That
he said.
doesn't
He
make
said
any
something
sense.
related to the first law. But go ahead. We're talking about entropy.
Oh, God. Really? Is the second law of thermodynamics a conservation law?
No.
Then is the first law of thermodynamics a conservation law?
He talked about energy going down or
yes,
up.
it is.
The energy
That's the answer to the question. So,
no.
Why are you giving an
You
answer
cannot
to
create
entropy with the
energy
first
or
law?
destroy
Okay,
energy.
I'll tell
That's
you
the
what.
first law.
Right, let's just shut him up. Because basically, when he makes an ass of himself, and someone points out that he's made an ass of himself, he will talk non-stop so that the humiliating and devastating rebuttal never gets heard. So, John, very calmly, now I've shut him up. Go ahead.
He asked first, what was entropy? No one defined it for him, and he agreed with you. And then he brought up the first law. He said matter or energy can't be created or destroyed. Well, that's not entropy. That's the first law of thermodynamics, not the second law of thermodynamics. And they're essentially, it's all nonsense. He's just talking out his butt.
You're talking out your butt. Come on. Energy going down in a system is not entropy.
Oh, God.
Usable energy to do work goes down in the system. The energy stays constant.
Can I ask a question?
Go ahead.
This might
I'm
help.
done.
And John, maybe you might be able to answer this. Is a pressurized system have more energy in it than a non-pressurized system, or less pressurized system have more energy in it? Anybody? Nobody?
The question is, does a system with more pressure have more energy?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So if that's the case, then when energy moves from a high pressure system to a low pressure system, there is less energy for work to occur. Would you agree?
Yeah.
Okay. There you go. So that is entropy.
What are you saying? What system are we talking about? Are we talking about our Earth being a closed system or an open system?
We weren't talking about anything. We were just discussing entropy.
Okay. Entropy has to do with a closed system or an open system or a isolated system.
There are no isolated systems.
Yeah, they don't exist.
Isolated systems are just used to describe the law, to simplify it. In the same way you have ideal gas law, even though there's no ideal gas. You know, it's just a way of simplifying it so it can be explained simplistically.
And that does relate to how can you have gas pressure without a container? They're still related.
They are related. You have a force that can do that. A force can act as a barrier or as a containment for the pressure. This we see in nature.
Speaking of forces, did you ever find out the force that creates a force?
Yeah, prove this force to us. Prove it.
No. There's an outstanding. It's been about a week, but Zanik, you were put to task to find a citation in regards to a non-force giving rise to a force, and then evidence to back that citation. How did you get on with that?
Well, in talking with many physicists about it, I will concede. I will concede that there are few physicists that agree that the force is due to gravity. They all agree there's a force, but they don't all agree that it's due to gravity.
How about this, Zanik? Can pressure be a force?
Of course it can.
So I'm
Right,
just a bit. Sorry,
go
Paul. Sorry to do this because it's obviously it's been set to task with this. So originally you asserted that there was a force, and that force was given rise to from a non-force, gravity, right? So
Why
now
call
you're
it a
saying.
non-force?
So now you're saying that the people, the men, like they are the arbiter of such things, can't agree. Well, you're about to. The reason we segued onto this was because you're about to assert a force. This very force that you're now saying we have to listen to men and whether or not they agree, like that matters. I don't really understand, Zanik. So you said I concede, but then it was kind of quiet and you talked about people not agreeing. But this is in reference to this very force, is it not?
They all not disagree, but they don't agree that gravity is causing the force.
So what the hell force are you about to talk about then, Zanik?
Well, it's a force. It's an attractive force, but it's a force caused by something else.
What force? Did you not hear my question? What force? What are you talking about?
Well, as Quantum Erasure and I were speaking about a letter that Newton wrote, he was perplexed that something that's some
Sorry,
invisible
no. I've just said I'm not interested in the discussions of men. That's not what I'm interested in. Interested in this force. Now you're saying no, not the force that I thought about, because I was claiming there was a non-force, this gravity, that gives rise to a force. Right? Now, you're saying, no, they can't agree, like that matters about the agreement of men or what they've written down. None of this is relevant. So no force then, Zanik. No force then. No force of gravity. Zanik. Yeah, the devastating bit just won't get heard. So let's shut him up. So, Zanik. No force that's been given rise to from a non-force then, Zanik. Just let's get that bit clear first. Gravity, not a force, isn't giving rise to a force then, correct?
It is true and it is not true. It's both.
Okay, show me the bit that is true. No worries. The bit that is true, show me that. The non-force. Zanik, not while I'm in the middle of a sentence. Yeah? So you've said, Zanik, you've said two things. True and not true. Now, I'm interested in the bit that you asserted originally as true. That would be a non-force of gravity giving rise to a force. So let's not worry about the not true bit. What we claim, not true. Bollocks, mate. Bollocks. Not worry about that. The bit that you claimed is true, just that bit. Show us that.
Dropping an object. Showing a force.
Sorry, Zanik. Have you already forgotten what you were challenged to go and get? No, mate.
Citation.
Yes, citation with supporting evidence for your claim. You've come back and told us, and now you're rumpusing me about the discussions of men and what they've written down, but you haven't given us a citation backed with evidence. So, the bit that's true, your claim, a non-force of gravity giving rise to a force, that bit, you still say there's true and not true evidence for it. That's what I want. Go.
Well, the people I interviewed and spoke to basically said it's true, but it also is not true.
That's nonsense.
Yeah, that's a law of non-contradiction break for crying out loud.
Right. Listen up, Dumbo. Sorry, go on and on.
The explanation that most physicists ride on. But they also agree that
Shut up.
Gravity can cause a force.
Did you not just listen to what John just said? This isn't a rebuttal to what John just said, is it?
There's no rebuttal. I concede that the physicists in general do not concede that gravity causes a force.
So your assertion was incorrect.
My assertion was incorrect based...
Right, so shut up. Right? You've been put to task based on your stupid assertion that was wrong. Now shut up. That's the end of you making this stupid claim that you've dragged out for a week and are incorrect about. So let's just summarise. Not you, me. There is no force that's been brought forth by a non-force of gravity. Zanik was wrong, and upon research he's disclaimed that it's just a bit of arguing amongst men who call themselves science, actually pseudo-scientists not doing any experimentation apparently can't agree about it, like we care. No evidence to support his claim, and the people he thought he could get a citation from are apparently in disagreement about this. Not providing positive support, but in disagreement, verbal disagreement, I assume, about this non-force giving... Is that you,
Still
Zanuck?
force.
Is that you, Zanuck, rumpusing the living shit out of me while I make the conclusion? Of course, my bad, globehead mute button. Forgot all about it. I'm drawing the conclusion that the non-force of gravity definitely does not give rise to any force, contrary to what all of you fundies assert, and upon research, all you found is arguing and non-consensus from men. Not proof, not a force, not supporting evidence. You were wrong. End of conversation.
I was wrong about the definitive conclusion that the force is due to gravity, but there still is a force.
What's that force then?
Force due to gravity or...
What the hell? My God, you're infuriating. It's not the force because of gravity. What's this extra force that's not gravity? It's the force because of gravity. You are quite fundamentally retarded.
They don't know what the cause of the force is. Exactly.
There is no force, you stupid idiot.
The force still exists.
I'm sick of this asshole and his double talk. You've conceded in the most weaselly possible way that you are in fact wrong. I've summarised it. Then you've said that there is actually a force. And when I say what force, you say the force that's come from gravity. You're a prick. You're a stupid moron. Either you are deliberately, intentionally trying to deceive the people who listen to the show, or you're just a fucking retard who can't appreciate just how dumb what you're actually saying is. To concede that a force that's a non-force can't give rise to a force and it's not gravity, to then in the next breath say it's gravity giving rise to a non-force. You're just a complete bonehead.
No, gravity absolutely causes the force.
Oh, shut up. So we've just dragged you around for 10 or 15 minutes with you basically non-conceding and conceding that men have argued about it and can't agree, and it doesn't actually give rise to a force, and you were wrong, only to assert it again that gravity gives rise to a force. I mean, are you literally this delusional? Do you not realise that you're contradicting yourself in the very next breath?
Yep, it's math.
All right,
it's math and
I'm going to jump in here just real quick because I want Zanuck. Okay, do you agree that you conceded earlier to the mathematical conclusion that we drew that math can represent non-reality?
Math describes reality.
Okay. Earlier with your discussion with
that was a
Anthony,
different guy, I think.
I thought it was Zanuck.
I wasn't involved with the math discussion.
Oh, you weren't?
Well, at the beginning I was.
Okay. Well,
math can show a cause and effect.
Okay.
Yeah.
You
Shout
can change
out to,
angles.
You guys know that PhD anthropologist guy, Rodrigo Ferrari Nunez.
I've heard that name. I've heard that name.
Yeah, he just did it. Yeah, he just did a 2-hour podcast just about the psychology of people like the gentleman we're talking to and the trolls. It's a fascinating video. So just check that out.
He's not trolling. I think he's trapped in cognitive dissonance or retarded, one or the other.
Yeah, it's terrible. I was actually going to give him some type of props for conceding, and then he just went right back.
Right. Well,
Into
that's
the
what I was talking
subculture.
about. I thought he was the same guy who conceded the mathematical conclusion. So I don't
That
think
was
he
Chris.
did concede anything.
No, that guy conceded that math isn't reality, and he understood that. Zanuck just conceded that, his force or non-force did not give rise to a force, And then literally 2 sentences afterwards went right back and said, yeah, of course, that's called due to gravity.
Right. Well, that's the analogy that I was going to draw, was that if this were the same guy, he would agree that I can't take 3 apples from Anthony or ice creams if Anthony only has 2, and then in the next breath he would say, but Anthony could have 5 even though he only has 2.
Right.
Why couldn't you have just juxtaposed the definitions for the words abstract and reality and ended it in 5 seconds rather than 45 minutes?
Well, how do you make when you did the example the other day? You were like, well, physics deals with the physical, mathematics deals with the abstract. But how do you make somebody who's on the other side of the opposing side of the argument appreciate that maths is abstract? I forgot how you did that segue to get them to very quickly concede that mathematics is abstract. I just couldn't remember how you did it. Otherwise I would have done that, basically.
Oh, no, I wasn't impugning you on it. Just the group wanted to give analogies and talk for 45 minutes. It's just simple. Mathematics, the definition is it's abstract. We don't even need everyone knows this, right? So what is the antonym of abstract?
Real.
But that's not my question. I appreciate your example and I want you to make it, and I'm hoping that this won't hijack it. But how do you know people don't appreciate that, to answer your question? If I say to somebody maths is abstract, then they'd go no. Red Rhetoric would say math is reality.
Right, but that violates the definition of the term mathematics.
Can I say something?
No.
Well, I want to be polite and then jumping in instead of talking over somebody and get jumped on for rumpusing. The problem is, John, I think most people may not. You're right. The simple answer is the definition, but sometimes people don't get what the definition means. And using examples, using illustrations, can have more of an impact on them than just a pure definition. And I'll pull the Christian card on this and say that's why Jesus spoke in parables. So parables sometimes can speak truths just as eloquently as a definition can, and sometimes even better.
Just Googled it, so why not? Mathematics, noun. The abstract science of number, quantity, and space, either as abstract concepts, pure mathematics, or as opposed to disciplines such as physics and engineering. Wow, that's not bad from just a quick Google search. It says abstract twice. Love it.
Yeah, I was failing to see where you're going, Nathan, with your last question. You said I did it differently the last time?
No, what I asked, I said, how did you get somebody to just concede that mathematics is abstract? What I didn't appreciate was that the very first Google search result would say abstract twice in the definition of mathematics. I just didn't appreciate that. My ignorance. My bad.
All right. And I agree with I agree with your analogies and things to describe what I agree with that. I mean, analogies are good. However, this is pretty simple based on the definitions of the words, right? I mean, I don't have to give analogies that air is not the atmosphere, right? I can just deal with the definitions of the words, right, within about 10 seconds and end it.
No, I get that. And if you notice, a lot of times on my, if you watch my page, when you guys are talking, I'm looking up definitions and posting them. So I'm actually trying to help along those lines. But sometimes to drive the point home is what I'm driving at. To drive it home.
No, and I agree with you, and with more complex topics, but this is I don't see the complexity here. But maybe it's me. I don't know.
It's called crayon munchers. Okay, how about that? They're crayon munchers. So you got to explain it as a little child.
You just pop yourself on mute, Zanik. Your mic and shit's clicking.
Oh, sorry.
There is.
So entropy. Let's go back over that. I heard a lot of order and disorder. That is the wrong definition for entropy. So try not to use that. Somebody who's knowledgeable will call you out. Right? I went over the definition of entropy a number of times. Right? You guys all know it.
But they're using it incorrectly.
Right. You can use it either for energy. That's the classical one, right? Energy or heat, concentration of heat spread out from localized to
But they
spread
were
out
using
at a
for
given
pressure going to
temperature.
high pressure to from high
I'm
pressure to low
sorry, I
pressure.
thought I was talking.
No, it's an important point, so Zanuck must talk over the top of it.
Yeah. Do you want me to finish, or Zanuck, you want to finish my definition?
Well, go ahead. It was just being misused by some of the people on this chat. Go ahead.
Sorry, he had to interrupt to divine the motivation and feelings of others. Go ahead, John.
Right, and you could just take the simple examples that we give for it goes from high gas pressure to low pressure. Always, it goes from high concentration of energy to lower concentration. Always from high to low, high to low, high to low. In nature, we're talking about nature, right? Because this is a natural law. We're not talking about man-made systems. This is strictly to do with nature. And that's what the definitions in classical thermodynamics, the dispersal of energy from localized to spread out at a given temperature. And in molecular thermodynamics, it's the change in a system or surroundings or their total, from which there are fewer accessible microstates to one in which there is an increased number of accessible microstates. So the examples that we've just given encapsulate those two definitions, right? Heat from high concentration to low concentration, high gas pressure to low gas pressure, right? So definitions and examples.
Herb, thank you very much.
Yeah, just try to stay away. I know it's hard because a lot of actual physicists talk about this order and order. I'm telling you, that was debunked about 15 to 20 years ago. It's not that it's wrong. I guess I could say it's wrong because of omission, and it's incomplete. So that's all I got. Thanks.
If you say order to chaos, it would imply that if you've got a gas and it's expanding into the available volume, that it was in some way ordered before it started expanding. And it's just not the case, right? So it's just it doesn't describe it accurately enough, or it is actually inaccurate.
Right, exactly. You got it. Yeah, it's so ambiguous that it'll lend itself to inaccuracies. Correct. Very well. Yeah.
But it might apply to decay. You could have like a wooden table decaying over a very long period of time, and that would just about be from ordered to chaotic. But still, that's very specific, right?
Sure. Yep, you got it.
Entropy is energy available to do work going down. It's that simple. In a system, a closed or isolated system, the energy in the system going down with time.
Closed or open.
Entropy always goes up.
There is no such thing as an isolated system in nature.
I told him that earlier. You just completely ignored it. I explained it to you, Zanuck. It's used to simplify the description, and I gave a different example with ideal gases. Do you remember?
I can't hear Nathan. I can't hear you. He's talking over top of you.
Of course, it's important. He's been made to look stupid again, so that's globehead mute button time.
You asked me a question.
Yeah, we explained this to you already.
But it is incomplete. It's very simple. Entropy of a system is the usable energy to do work going down. As entropy goes up, the usable energy to do work goes down. It's that simple.
No, it's not. No, it's not. I already gave. What are you saying? My definitions were incomplete. Yours is
It was
incomplete.
convoluted. It wasn't incomplete.
It's not convoluted. Oh my god.
Picture a room with a refrigerator.
I'm done. I'm
Oh,
done
God.
with this.
Oh, God.
Okay.
No, please, God, no.
Entropy. Okay. You want to think it's just gas pressure going from high
I'm just
pressure to
gonna
low
have
pressure?
to go into
is not
Discord, I guess. I'm at my limit.
All right.
Me too.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Zanuck. I'm really sorry. I'm just at my limit for today. I can't deal with it.
Well,
So
when people, second law of thermo does talk about high pressure,
Yeah.
low pressure.
yeah.
Can I just ask Nathan? When I came back to the mic, I heard you telling Zanuck how he repulses you or whatever. What was the point that Zanuck made that you caught him out on?
He just lied. So I asked. He said he got an example that was measuring radius, and then I asked him to explain what that was, and he gave details of a mountain in the distance, and he said there was an effect of refraction that would have to be taken into consideration, and measurements would be taken, etc., etc. So then I said, okay, show me. And then he pulled up something that he'd already presented in the past, and I said, okay, where are the refractive measurements? And there weren't any. So he's gone to the effort of disclosing that there's a cause, in this case refraction, that needs to be accounted for. But in the case of his example, there is no accounting for it whatsoever, only an application of course, terrestrial refraction. So when asked to actually provide what he said he'd got, so step one, what have you got? I've got this, this, and this. Okay, let's see it. I've got this and this. Well, where's the third thing? Oh, well, this is a picture of this and this. Well, what about the third thing? Oh, well, the third thing is an extrapolation based on R. Well, isn't that the thing you're proving? You know, this is begging the question. Rumpus, 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 rumpus. So at that point, I established that what he claimed he would give us, he hadn't got. Just lied. Made it seem like it was something that was critically important. It is, as is demonstrated when we say, okay, it's sinking then. Just arbitrarily apply refraction without taking any measurements. Oh, well, that's sinking, mate. Yeah? Well, he's going to do it with his refraction, special pleading, circumstances that only apply to his model, and just declare that he hasn't got them. No measurements taken. But that's acceptable because I'm going to apply my fundy belief and beg the question. To me, these people are disgusting zealots. Liars, basically. There you go. That's why.
On a different note, whilst I was away from the computer, the red car needs some work doing to it. And one of the things was the ABS light on the dashboard. And the manufacturer wanted £57 plus VAT for the lead, the new speed lead, the new ABS speed sensor. And I got it from my local motor factors for 15 quid. That was inclusive of the VAT. And I was fitting that today. I've got another little job that I've had to take part off and clean it all up and then put it back on. Car runs as sweet as a nut again now. Took me all afternoon to do it though.
You've got a car. I don't know what the hell I'm going to do when my wife finishes maternity leave. Back to walking with 2 kids. I hope it doesn't affect the show, but I'm almost certain that walking everywhere with 2 kids is going to slow me right down, right? Silence. Nobody wants to talk about this with me.
I was mesmerized by the car.
I don't know.
I was just thinking about it's relative, isn't it? It depends on how far you have to walk.
Don't say relative. They'll tell us we're following Einstein.
Yeah, just for you, Bob, if you're listening, there's a difference between relative and Einstein's theory of relativity. They're not the same. We do live in a relative world. Everything's relative. That doesn't mean I support Einstein.
That's a. You know
Einstein,
what? That's a
peace be
really
upon
good
him.
point. Oh God, I should have known.
Peace be upon him.
Oh, come on, he's hardly said a thing.
Oh yeah, John, lighten up, you grumpy bugger.
Whenever we say Einstein, John, there's a kind of a running gag that we will say, peace be upon him. That's all that was.
I was going to say, because I've heard this from a lot of people, and there might be some confusion out there. I know it might surprise you, but all the citations and how we talk about, gravity is not a force, And we're showing how the current pseudoscience, the one the ballers follow, their priests are saying almost in unison that gravity is not a force. We're showing this to the ballers to tell them how they are wrong in their own paradigm. The problem is we've got people out there that think because we're doing this that we somehow back Einstein. We do not, right? We're just one step away from clubbing Einstein to death. We're just using gravity's not a force 25 times from their pseudoscience priest to show that the ballers, pseudoscience priests, don't know what they're talking about. They're parroting the wrong pseudoscience. That's not to say that we follow Einstein. Does everyone understand that?
You want to add something, Anthony? Because I do if you don't. Anybody else? Go ahead, and then I'll reiterate what John's just said. No, fine. Right. Absolutely correct. I've had to deal with this in the bloody comments section. What we are doing is educating ignorant ballers about their own bloody religious belief so we can beat the living crap out of it. So if you're going to start parroting the old nonsense religious belief, we're going to point out that your current belief is X. Now, pointing out that you're parroting the wrong religion doesn't mean that we buy that religion, you stupid morons. We're just making sure you're on the right track, the current bullshit, so we can pummel that bullshit. But we're not going to pummel the old bullshit that's already been disregarded by your current crop of pseudoscientists. We want to pummel the current bullshit. And if you're not parroting that bullshit, we're going to make sure you're aware of your own bullshit. The bending of space-time is what is currently claimed by your side as gravity. What the hell is gravity? This bullshit made up nonsense. That's our position. Your position is it's the bending of a conceptual medium. And when we get you to realise that your own bullshit isn't being adhered to when you say mass attracting mass, we will pummel the living crap out of a conceptual medium being bent, which it can't be. So just get on the right track with the correct bullshit religion so we can pummel the right stuff.
Very well said.
That's great.
Yeah, how many times
That's
on
nice.
these shows have I personally pummeled Einstein and his theories of relativity? I can't, it'd be hard to count them. What's so confusing about that? How can you then say that we're following Einsteinian gravity? I'm speechless.
That's what I was gonna say, John. Like, don't we shit all over the bending of space time as much as the gravity force? Like, how can people think that we're on Einstein's side? Are you kidding?
They don't listen.
Peace be upon him.
Because they don't. Peace be upon him. Because they don't listen. Because whenever we get to the point that we actually get the fundie who's on the panel to concede that gravity is not a force, it's actually the bending of space-time, we'll either get two scenarios. People like Zanuck who say, but gravity gives rise to a force, because he's so indoctrinated with the force needed to make his fundie religion work that he's got to apply it even where the current crop of pseudoscientists don't. Now, we want to pummel the concept of space-time being bent, because that's the current assertion. It's as simple as that. There is no mass attracting mass. It's been decried by all of your pseudoscientists. Now, when I make these examples, I'm careful to say pseudoscientists' current assertions and things of that nature to make it clear that I'm not buying this crap just because I'm making sure the fundie who's on the panel is on the right track with the right religious belief. That's just making sure. It's akin to having to explain to somebody about a year ago, yeah, Starman is claimed to actually be in your fundamentalist religious belief of a sky vacuum. And the person you're arguing with goes, nah, that's not real. And you go, no, in order for us to have this argument, you've got to accept first that they're claiming Starman is real. Because otherwise we can't have this argument.
Precisely.
So that kind of explains why morons like Fight the Flat Earth thought that George Musser had his back and saying that gravity wasn't a force. Because he's trying to establish that Einstein's gravity is what's the in thing now. and George Musa backs that up. But he's missing our whole point that it's not actually a force. It's insane.
Not just not a force, not a thing. What the hell is gravity? Oh, right. Described currently as the bending of a conceptual medium. Well, that's nothing. The bending of a conceptual medium, that's not something in my reality. It's not real. So it's nothing. It's not a thing.
Nathan, have you Googled, is gravity a force recently?
No, but you've led me beautifully. So why would I Google such a thing? What would such a search throw up, Anthony?
Check this out. Share my screen, Nathan. Let me know when we're on.
Yeah, you're on.
All right,
Slightly
so
weird.
Gravity.
Slightly weird scaling, but it'll do.
I can't see it, but that's okay.
That's better.
Gravity is most accurately described by the general theory of relativity proposed by Einstein in 1915. Notice that it doesn't. Yeah, notice that it doesn't have capitals, which are found unusual, which describes gravity not as a force, but as the consequence of the curvature of spacetime caused by the uneven distribution of mass. And then if you go down, if gravity is not a force, how does it accelerate objects? We know how we know gravity is not a force, and then he's got just. I've not looked at that one. Gravity is most accurately described by the general theory of relativity, which describes gravity not as a force, but as the consequence of the curvature of space-time. Gravity isn't a force, so how does it move objects? Gravity is the now look at this one. Gravity is the force that attracts two bodies towards each other, right? Newtonian principles, right? So I opened up this one to see what this is talking about. Look what it says. Gravity is the force that attracts two bodies towards each other, the force that causes apples to move towards the ground and the planets to orbit the sun. And then it goes on for a bit, and then it says, Newton published his work on gravitation in 1687, which reigned as the best explanation until Einstein came up with his theory of general relativity in 1915. In Einstein's theory, gravity is not a force, right? But the title of this thing indicates that gravity is a force. But when you read further into the article, it clearly states that it's not. So look how misleading it is when it comes to the description on this page of Google here. Look at this, though, in Quora. Not that I rate Quora as a credible explanation, but look what this is. Is it true that... Oh, hang on. Not that bit. Where's the bloody question gone? Is gravity a force? In here somewhere, there was like... There was something that somebody had asked. It might not have been in here. It might have been on here.
I saw it, Anthony. Go back up. I thought I saw something.
Hang on a sec. Here it is. Why is everybody saying gravity is not a force? Look at the date. March 2018. So something was happening in March 2018 for this to get triggered. Now, obviously, I don't think it was us by then. It might have been somebody else, somewhere else on the internet. But when this guy's asked this question, why is everybody saying that gravity isn't a force? And then the answer is, you will hear people say that gravity is not a force because it isn't. Gravity in science is the name given to the phenomena that objects tend to accelerate towards each other when left to their own devices. We studied this rule. We studied the rules for this phenomena and came up with a theory of gravity, which is supposed to explain it in terms of things that we understand. Newton's theory of universal gravitation attempted to explain gravity in terms of this force thing that was so successful when applied to other kinds of motion. So gravity
That's
could
not
be
a theory.
explained into... Yeah, I know.
Hold on. Newton never proposed a theory. It's the universal law.
So that worked very well for a long time, and it certainly feels like there is something pulling us to Earth. But there are things that it ought to explain that it did not. And this is the bit that's interesting. Like the aberration of starlight and how come gravitational and inertial mass are the same thing. This tells us that Newtonian gravity is incomplete. Einstein's general relativity attempts to explain gravity in terms of geometry, so there is no force involved at all, and no need for one. In this model, apparent force of gravity, the pull that you feel, is explained as the result of geometry of space-time. There is a gravitational force in the same way that there is a centrifugal force. That is, the force of gravity is understood as a pseudo-force, which is why they're coming with the it's an apparent force nonsense. Well, if centrifugal force isn't a force by their definition, then neither is gravity. Now, there's another article here which continues. Look at this. So it says, if gravity is a force, you lose the ability to describe these: gravitational lensing of light, gravitational time dilation, advancements of the perihelion of Mercury, spin down of binary pulsars, frame dragging, anomalous boosting of satellites, gravitational acceleration, more. So basically, it's clearly not a force, but for some reason, Craig picked up on that and he wants to run with it desperately. And it's clearly obvious that it's clearly not a force. Everybody's saying gravity's not a force, but for some reason, these morons still peddle it.
Well, that's funny. Didn't Rumpus yesterday just say something about the orbit of Mercury when he was trying to describe gravity, and we didn't let him?
Yeah,
that's cute.
So look at this. It says any logical structures built on gravity as a force. Any sentences that presume gravity is a force and show some of the many problems with that flawed model require that we remind you: science has models. Models are tools, not gospel. Gravity is modeled in different ways, and the side effects of some tools create logical problems that people ask about. Gravity is like a force if you don't look closely enough. I just think it's just almost as if it's been written for us, or we've just come across it because we've been asking the right questions. And it's like, gravity's not a force. Let's stop talking. And we need to get Jose's chat to accept this. Just not go in there. Like, go in, ask them the question. If they won't accept it's not a force, just walk out.
Can we go back up? Because this gentleman that is speaking, he called it a universal theory of gravity. Is there a problem with that, folks?
You've already stated it. It was claimed to be a law. I mean, a law that's been proven incorrect. It's been falsified, so no longer a law. But definitely not a theory, especially as he proposed that he made no theories, right?
Yeah, he made no hypotheses, right? So it can't be a theory. So these people, this is all doublespeak.
Yeah. So the bigger picture seems to be that they'll obfuscate this point to death to make it confusing.
Yeah.
Well, they can't.
Not a force, right? Doesn't get any simpler.
The bottom line here, Anthony, in summary, is that the current rhetoric is all that matters. It doesn't matter what the globers in Jose's chat say. Their current rhetoric is Einsteinian gravity. Now, Einsteinian gravity, based on that list, sorry to get you to scroll down, but if you can just scroll down to the list of things that they say, well, if it's a force, all these things wouldn't work. And you will notice that every single thing in the list is in the realms of pseudoscience.
Yep.
So their pseudoscience won't work if they're...
Pseudocity.
Sorry?
Pseudocity.
Pseudocity.
Yeah, it's pseudoscience. This isn't science. It never will be. Gravitational lensing of light? What? You mean stuff that you observe in your telescopes? Not scientifically valid. Gravitational time dilation, another conceptual medium that they're talking about dilating. So not just the bending of space-time, but dilating of another conceptual medium.
How many inches does it have to dilate?
Right. What, that concept of time? Advancement of the perihelion of Mercury. Well, that's just a light in the sky. This isn't scientifically valid. Spin down of binary pulsars, another light in the sky. Now, this one I don't know. What's frame dragging? Anybody?
Wait a second. Those are two lights in the sky. Binary.
Binary, my bad. Two lights. Correct. Pedantic, but correct. Frame dragging, any idea what that is? No idea, but probably, let's just assume, let's divine the thoughts of the person who wrote this. That's going to be bullshit, let's be honest. And anomalous, can someone else say that word?
Anomalous.
Anomalous boosting of satellites? Satellites, you say? What, the very things they claim to be in a violation of several laws of nature? Yeah, that'll be bullshit too, so let's not worry about that. Gravitational acceleration of charges does not produce the same type of light emission that force-based acceleration produces in those charges. I have no idea what that even means. Anybody?
I think the boost of satellites is where when the satellites lose altitude, they've got to drag them back up again.
No, gravitational acceleration of charges. What's that?
Yeah, I was addressing the other
I
one.
bet that's some quantum mechanics stuff.
No, it
Yeah,
doesn't.
right.
It has
I don't
nothing
think so.
to do with quantum mechanics.
This is all bullshit, right? None of this associations with gravity. It's all pseudoscience for pseudoscience. oh no, if it's a force, it'll affect our pseudoscience. Like I care. None of this is relevant to us. It's all pseudoscience bullshit. So yeah, like we care that their non-force, their bending of a conceptual medium buggers up the other pseudoscience that they just make up for explanations for lights in the sky. It matters not.
Yeah, but we can use this against them, though, because we can say, well, if gravity is a force, how are you going to explain gravitational lensing and gravitational time dilation?
No way! Oh, God, I could strangle you. After John's little speech and my little speech, you're saying you want to beg the question of bloody Einsteinian gravity to debunk parts of it within the fallacy. Oh, I could throttle you.
I know, but do you not see the attraction to begging the question when we basically...
No.
Okay, then I won't do it.
You can do whatever you like. I'm just saying, if you're going to beg the question of their current pseudoscience, that's the very thing we're trying to level out here and say, look, just because we point out that your current rhetoric is gravity is not a force, it's the bending of space-time, doesn't mean we buy it. But if you're going to go in and say, but if gravity is the bending of space-time, slap, slap, slap.
Right, I'll be back in 5. Just going to go get some tweet.
You gotta go be back in 5 because he's going over to Jose's and he's gonna bring it up.
Exit stage right.
I'll get me tea. I'll get some food. I'll be back.
I'm going to round out this after show. So with that, I'll say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you who have tuned in on the Nathan Oakley 1980 premiering stream for hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, and all that good stuff. Be sure to check out nathanoakley.com and the Flat Earth Debate Forum, which you should definitely join. Of course, a massive thank you to all of today's debating panel for making this after show possible. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!